We've got liberal tears and a little bit of encouragement. Also some FOIA requests that were just released. And we also have a little bit about the HHS IG starting an investigation. Stay with me, folks, and we'll get to it in just a minute. Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I'm sorry this is a little late. I just couldn't get to it all last night and get it to put everything together so it could come out this morning, but I've got some good stuff I think you're going to be interested in. First of all, the liberals are not real happy because Trump's briefings are scoring Monday Night Football level ratings, and they're saying, should TV networks be covering them live? Oh no! And then check this one out. Cable news viewership for the daily Trump briefing is eye-popping. 12.2 million on Monday with 6.2 million watching on Fox News alone. Millions more are tuning in via ABC, CBS, NBC, and online streaming sites. And as you probably know, they've decided to not carry them anymore. Very interesting. So look at this, though. I thought this was kind of funny. But Ted Koppel told me he's concerned about the unfiltered coverage by TV networks. Heaven forbid it should be unfiltered. Training a camera on a live event and just letting it play out is technology, not journalism. Journalism requires editing and context. Oh my goodness. So we don't want you to know the real truth. You can only hear the truth we tell you. We're the ones who are in charge. We have to edit it and tell you what it's all about before we can show it to you. Oh, how arrogant are these people? But they're just not happy about it because people are really starting to see Trump for who he is because they're watching these briefings. And this is driving the liberals crazy. Speaking of crazy liberals, Alyssa Milano posted this. Trump owns how many hotels in the U.S. and how many in New York in particular? He should offer to turn them into hospitals until this pandemic is over. We need beds. He's got them. Okay, there's a reason why he's sending a ship to New York and then also one down to Los Angeles. Okay, so there are hospital beds. And for some bizarre reason in her little warped mind, she thinks that it would make more sense to turn a hotel that's not equipped for any medical things and would not have any way to really be sterile into hospital beds because they're desperate. Okay, we're not desperate yet. We don't need beds yet. And maybe in New York, but that's why the first ship is going there. And so, she's just like not playing with a full deck. Trump derangement syndrome has really just taken control of her mind. He lives inside her brain. But you know what? There are some Democrats that are starting to see the light. And this one says she's a Democrat and she hates her party. Can she quit? And you know what? The responses were wonderful. A lot of them were saying, yep, please come over. Why, yes, you can. So it just amazing the people that rallied around this person for saying that. And that's really what a lot of the Democrats are finding when they walk away from their party. They've been told all their lives that Republicans are despicable people and they're racist and they're just hateful people. That's what they've been told. And that's not at all reality. And they're finding that out. It's the same thing with Trump. They're finding out he's not what the media has been saying he is, that he actually knows what's going on, and he's doing a very good job with this virus thing. So let's go on. I want to play just a little clip. I know some of you are familiar with Crowder and some of you aren't. He does, get a little exuberant, and he is in this clip. But I thought what he had to say was very good because he points out that the Democrats are willing to see Americans die just for their political advantage.
Really? Common ground. You are willing right now. You're saying that Donald Trump is going to let people die by allowing people to go pick up a beer at a store sometime before Easter, that if we stop this quarantine where young, healthy people can go out and contribute to the economy so they have jobs to come back to, that he doesn't care about human life when you are deliberately misleading people and trying to kill trying to kill hope for a treatment that, in this scenario, for a drug that has been approved for over half a century, and there's no financial incentive or very little financial incentive to conduct clinical trials, we have the best possible case scenario that we could have at this point. A few large sample studies and an in vitro study that shows a reasonable mechanism of action, but instead, you, in order to score political points, are willing to let people die because you hate Donald Trump. Bravo! Come together right now over the New York Times. Go screw yourself.
As always, there are links down below. If you want to watch more of Crowder, you can do that. And, you know, I love the way that they keep putting this on all the videos. So it's kind of weird. But anyway, this is a good segment here because he does give reasons why Trump was right about this medicine. He was definitely right. Well, the big thing is that on the 24th, there were some records that were released. Now, FOIA requests usually are released every so often. You know, when people send in a FOIA request, then like that particular department of the government will put out the documents that were released for that FOIA request. And that's what happened here. Records concerning Fusion GPS, Chris Steele, or Nellie Ohr. And they were from January 13th, 2016 to July 3rd, 2018. And they were just posted on March 24th, but nobody's paying attention because everybody is just thinking about the virus. Yep. So here they are. There are 3 parts, and you can take these links if you want to. I have not gone through all of it yet, but I have seen a few people talking about it. And on Twitter, this guy, now, I mentioned him once before. Ooh, it's been a while on this one, but he is positive that Italy had a major hand in investigating Trump and what went on in Spygate. So here he points out, good news, folks. With this last release, someone at DOJ has just decided that we should all know the attempted coup at President Trump was initiated by a, quote, friendly foreign nation. And in his opinion, he believes Italy's behind it. Now, I don't know, it does redact it. There's a lot of redactions in the FOIA documents. It's redacted here who authorized the initial CIA investigation, and then, you know, this question right here, you know, that it was original input from friendly foreign nation based on the source's own reporting, thus creating a circular reporting loop. There's a lot of redactions, that's for sure when you see it, but I think there are some interesting things. This guy right here has been going through and looking at it. I didn't see anything, you know, major in this. I mean, a lot of it is stuff that we already know, but there are some documents. This one right here came out and there was like FT at the end of everybody's names, or all the spaces or something. It was weird. So it was a document. When they scanned it in, it didn't scan very well. But he says in there, it talks about a theft document. I don't know what that would happen to be, but you can go through and read this thread. And Kash, this is Kash Patel, which the 17th letter of the alphabet told us about. And so, yeah, there are lots of documents, letters from, oh gosh, Nunes and Grassley and Goodlatte and Gowdy, you know, just stuff that went back and forth, and it has to Wray and to Sessions, and there's a letter there to Sessions that refers Hillary Clinton and James Comey and Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and just various people to him for criminal charges. So there's just a lot there that's happening. And it's going to take a little while to go through all the documents because there are a lot of them, but should be very interesting. So I will leave the link below. Remember, here's the documents. There were some others too that were released that I think might be worth looking into if you want to. This one's about Kavanaugh, and this one's Religious Liberty Task Force, which I don't know what that is. And, you know, just down here, some other stuff. Here's one about emails of former acting Attorney General Sally Yates. So lots of things that they put on this. I'll put the whole page there and you can look through it and see what else you want. Here's more records concerning GPS, Chris Steele and Nellie Orr. And so several FOIA things that they just posted, but of course nobody's paying attention to it because they're all focused on the virus. Like I said, these up here just were released. This was March 25th, and this was March 24th. So lots to dig through there if that's something you enjoy doing. A lot of it's redacted, but you know what? You can look through some of it. Then if you want to see the actual bill that ended up being voted on and passed, this is it. It's not the same as what I showed you before, because the one I showed you was 500 and some pages, and this is 883. So here's the bill. There's more in it than we wanted, that's for sure. But you know what? Some of the minor things, I guess they had to agree on, but it's just not right. It was not right of the Democrats to do this and to put their pet projects in there. It's just not, but it's going to bite them in the butt in the end. And then this was interesting that Google's been censoring this document that has to do with a trial paper on this medicine. So I thought it was interesting that they just decided, nobody needs to see this. We're just going to censor that. Yeah, because it was linked to a Google Doc file, and there's growing evidence of chloroquine as a highly effective treatment for this virus. No, they don't want anybody to see it, evidently. This is the thing. If you want real truth out there, why are you stifling people that are posting stuff about real studies? And speaking of, I got to show you this. This is really worth taking your time to go through. There are 12 experts here who question this whole panic about this, because if you look at this, these are people from Germany. There's a couple of Germans. There's Swede, I think, and I don't know, different people. And you really need to listen to what they're saying, because they're talking about this is not good. It's going to be very harmful to our society and not just our economy in the United States, but globally, all of the economies. Because if you just stop the world, you can't really continue with your economic success. It's going to harm everyone. And really, they're talking about how this has been hyped much more than it's worth. It's not as bad as what the mainstream media, of course, is trying to tell us. And even, all the governments, they seem to all be reacting in the same way, or maybe I should say overreacting. Now, I will tell you that, this is in German, but it does have subtitles. And another one down here, this guy is a physician who specializes in pulmonology, the lungs, which is what this hits. And he says, politicians are being courted by scientists who want to be important to get money for their institutions. Scientists who just swim along in the mainstream and want their part of it. And what is missing right now is a rational way of looking at things. We should be asking questions like, how did you find out this virus was dangerous? How was it before? Didn't we have the same thing last year? Is it even something new? That's missing. Because it's not new, folks. They're making it sound like it is, but it's not. And if you look at the number of people who would normally pass away in this age range, the elderly people, it's not really that many more people than would normally be part of the process of life. So it was just very interesting. This one also is subtitled, but very good to watch. And then this one is the professor of community health sciences and surgery at Manitoba University. They don't have a clip for him, but he says, I've never seen anything anywhere near like this. I'm not talking about the pandemic, because I've seen 30 of them, one every year. It is called influenza and other respiratory illness viruses. We don't always know what they are, but I've never seen this reaction, and I'm trying to understand why. I worry about the message to the public about the fear of coming into contact with people, being in the same space as people, shaking their hands, having meetings with people. I worry about many consequences related to that. In Hubei, in the province of Hubei, where there has always been the most cases and deaths by far, the actual number of cases reported is 1 per 1,000 people, and the actual rate of deaths reported is 1 per 20,000. So maybe that would help to put things into perspective. And what some of them are saying is that the thing that this area of China and the area in Italy have in common is that they are very high in air pollution. And so people's lungs were already compromised. So it's not so surprising that it hit them harder. And that could be too here in the United States, that it seems like some, New York and the places in California, a little higher pollution content. So that could possibly be it too. That, not that it's causing it or anything, it's just that it's making it a little worse in that population. And here's one that's, professor of medicine, of health research and policy, and of biomedical data science at Stanford University School of Medicine. This guy says patients who have been tested for this virus are disproportionately those with severe symptoms and bad outcomes. As most health systems have limited testing capacity, selection bias may even worsen in the near future. The one situation where an entire closed population was tested was the Diamond Princess cruise ship and its quarantine passengers. The case fatality rate there was 1%, but this was a largely elderly population in which the death rate from this COVID-19 is much higher. Could the COVID-19 case fatality rate be that low? No, some say, pointing to the high rate in elderly people. However, even some so-called mild or common cold type coronaviruses that have been known for decades can have case fatality rates as high as 8% when they infect elderly people in nursing homes. If we had not known about a new virus out there and had not checked individuals with PCR tests, the number of total deaths due to influenza-like illness would not seem unusual this year. At most, we might have casually noted that flu this season seems to be a bit worse than average. A fiasco in the making. As the coronavirus pandemic takes hold, we are making decisions without reliable data. And I think this is really what these particular people are saying, and these are all, people that have pretty good degrees here. This one's an Israeli physician. And he says, Italy is known for its enormous morbidity and respiratory problems, more than 3 times any other European country. In the U.S., about 40,000 people die in a regular flu season, and so far 40 to 50 people have died of the coronavirus. Obviously, this is a long time ago because I think it hit 1,000 today. Most of them in a nursing home in Kirkland, Washington. So in every country, more people die from regular flu compared to those who die with the coronavirus. There's a very good example that we all forget, the swine flu in 2009. That was a virus that reached the world from Mexico, and until today, there is no vaccination against it. But what? At that time, there was no Facebook, and there maybe was, but it was still in its infancy. The coronavirus, in contrast, is a virus with public relations. Whoever thinks that governments end viruses is wrong. And then this one's a Swiss physician. It was Swiss, not Swede. So got the wrong country there. We have reliable figures from Italy and a work by epidemiologists, which has been published in the renowned science journal Science, which examined the spread in China. This makes it clear that around 85% of all infections have occurred without anyone noticing the infection. 90% of the deceased patients are verifiably over 70 years old, 50% over 80. In Italy, 1 in 10 people diagnosed die, according to the findings of the Science publication that is statistically 1 of every 1,000 people infected. Each individual case is tragic, but often, similar to the flu season, it affects people who are at the end of their lives. If we close the schools, we will prevent the children from quickly becoming immune. We should better integrate the scientific facts into the political discussions. And here's another one, a German radiologist. I'm not a fan of lockdown. Anyone who imposes something like this must also say when and how to pick it up again. Since we have to assume that the virus will be with us for a long time, I wonder when we will return to normal. You can't keep schools and daycare centers closed until the end of the year, because it will take at least that long until we have a vaccine. Italy has imposed a lockdown and has the opposite effect. They quickly reached their capacity limits, but did not slow the virus spread within the lockdown. I thought that was kind of interesting there. Here's a German HIV researcher, and, he says the new pathogen is not that dangerous. It is even less dangerous than SARS-1. The special thing is that this new one, this COVID-19, replicates in the upper throat area and is therefore much more infectious because the virus jumps from throat to throat, so to speak. But that is also an advantage because SARS-1 replicates in the deep lungs. It is not so infectious, but it definitely gets on the lungs, which makes it more dangerous. So you also have to take into account that this current one, the COVID-19, deaths in Germany were exclusively old people. In Heinsberg, for example, a 78-year-old man with previous illnesses died of heart failure, and that without SARS-2 lung involvement. Since he was infected, he naturally appears in the COVID-19 statistics. But the question is whether he would not have died anyway, even without SARS-2. And I think that is key. We're having a lot of people that may test positive and then they end up dying, but are they truly dying from the coronavirus? That's the real question. And then here's another one. And again, there's so many of them that are saying the same thing. And so I'm going to leave this below, in the links so you can check out the whole article, because I think this is well worth reading. And then I wanted to tell you about this. Guess what? The HHS IG has decided to investigate the Trump administration response to coronavirus outbreak. Now, I can understand them doing this, but I think the timing is very suspicious. We're still dealing with this. I think that they should have waited for a few months before they decided to do this investigation. And I don't know, this lady's in charge here, Christy Grimm. I didn't really find a whole lot about her. This is her bio, if you want to read about it. She's pretty much a career person. She's been there for a long time, kind of moving up in the ranks, and she is an SES. So does that tell you anything? Yeah. And this is the project here. So they're trying to find out if they adhered to health, safety, and operational protocols during repatriation and quarantine efforts. So, yeah, I think they're just going to be investigating the whole thing. And you got to wonder who's behind it. Again, it's a timing issue. It's not that the IG wouldn't investigate this, because that's kind of what the IG does to make sure that proper procedures were followed. But it just seems suspicious that they're starting it already. That's my opinion. Okay, anyway, so that's what I've got for you on this one. I'm sorry it came out a little bit late, but yeah, I didn't find out about the FOIA thing until really late. So I thought I'd wait until this morning so I could pick up a little bit better on that. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.